Long ago, the people were dying at the end of the world, and that is the phrase that begins the game. We are here today to play another session of the game Polaris by P.H. Lee or Ben Lehman. And we are here with some players who are part of the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing game community. We just very quickly at the start here, just a quick reminder about safety tools that we have. I have a Jamboard where one of the pages has some of the safety tools on it. First of all, we have the X card that is always available. Somebody can say X card, they can type X card in the chat, they can hold their arms in front of them in the form of an X, and if they are using the X card, we will immediately stop play. We will take a step backward, and we will take a different direction. If any question is asked, it will purely be a question to make sure that we understand what it is that we need to avoid in the play. We also have lines and veils, and we currently have a line drawn on sexual assault, which means that sexual assault will not appear in the game. And we have veils which can appear in the game, but if they do appear, it's purely as a brief mention. The items that are veiled will not be kind of elaborated upon or described in any detail, but they can be mentioned. But after being mentioned, we kind of move forward. And the veils are explicit torture, sex, and violence towards children. With lines and veils, you should always feel free to add to those. That they're not just because one isn't listed there now does not mean that it can't be listed at some subsequent time. And then finally, that we have the safety tool of the open table, which means that if at any point you need to leave the game, you should feel perfectly free to do so. If you know you're leaving and you're not going to return and are able to kind of let us know that is great. But if there's some situation where you can't do that and you just need to leave, you should feel free to do that. This is our third session, and we are going to just open with a quick introduction for the players, and also while you're doing that, you can give a quick introduction to the protagonist that you are playing, and a few little details about the situation that protagonist is in right now. And I'm just going to do this in the order of the Jamboard. So Brandon, you would be the first one up for this.
But hope was not yet lost, for Andromeda still heard the song of the stars. Andromeda is the daughter of the morning star, a knight, not only of the Order of the Stars, but one who owes allegiance to a cult of the morning star, who is a powerful being that the morning star cult believes is an actual astral body, embodied aspect, come down to Earth here. Andromeda rides a horse that runs on air, and her job has been to root out corruption wherever she can find it using this capability. She is plagued by a handsome and elusive demon named Nyx, who makes the often very cogent argument that corruption is inevitable and that her attempts at fighting it are bailing the tide. and she is seems unable to rid herself of this gadfly. She has recently been summoned to an audience of the Morning Star, who has indicated that he has a plan to make peace with the demons in the mistake. An action which Andromeda is bound by her oaths to try to cooperate with, but which troubles her very deeply. On the other, but she is not all office and service. She has a sister, Vulpecula, who she calls Little Fox, who has joined the efforts to fight against the demons and has apprenticed herself to be a knight, much against Andromeda's desires, to shield her sister from the conflict that's going on. But Andromeda doesn't seem to be able to do very much about it. Andromeda is also very much involved with one of the other knights of the stars, Heka, and is trying to do what she can to break Heka out of the cycle of love and destruction that she has been in. Andromeda has feelings for Heka, but has not acknowledged these even to herself.
Okay, and maybe since you're wrapping up with Heka, maybe we'll go directly to Heka now. So, Kieran, if you'll introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Heka.
That makes sense. Hope was not yet lost, for Heka the bride still heard the song of the stars. As Brandon put it, Heka is somebody who is trapped in a cycle of death and love. She is Heka the bride, and that means she very rarely gets to be just simple Heka. She and her husband were basically great heroes together. He was caught with an awful curse. He rode off. I'm going to find the cure. I promise you, I'll return to you. He returned as this demon creature. I killed him, and then he keeps on returning. He appears to want to feed on me and my daughter, our daughter rather, Capella, who is stubborn and awkward. Most recently, he returned with a different approach. He had captured Teal, the husband of Libra, the matriarch of Tallstar, and his mother, and invited Capella out to meet him. I rode after him with the help of Andromeda, who I still am unaware, or at least not admitting of her feelings for me. And we made a deal. Rather than go with him, I said that she will be trained, and then they will return to meet. So, I didn't want to give her access. Then they agreed with that, and Andromeda agreed for Capella to be her squire. Afterwards, things went bad to worse. Teal, of course, being exposed to demonic forces, has to should have been killed. He should have been killed by Libra, and Libra's somewhat fanatical faith has quivered a little, as in she can't quite bring herself to do it, even though she could. Heka talked her out of doing it. This is because there is a questionable level of emotions between Till and Heka. Nothing's happened yet, but she's very aware that Teal was actually lured into Ursa the Groom's trap because she believed there was a private meeting for them. She has basically talked Libra into agreeing to give her a lunar month to try to find a cure. And I'm going to ride into the wasteland and do what my husband could not. However, Teal is now seeing visions of Ursa. Seductive and tempting, and all the things that you would think of a demon to be. What the Ursa does not be aware of, Capella is actually also getting these visions, and therefore knows of Ursa's some degree of perfidy, though we have no idea how she's going to respond to that, and that's where she is.
Okay, and then finally we'll come to my protagonist, Acamar. but hope was not yet lost, for Acamar still heard the song of the stars. Acamar is a knight of the Order of the Stars, as are the other protagonists, but he is also part of a special group known as the Sentinels of the Southern Lands. Acamar has been kind of tapped to join this kind of elite force that is tasked with patrolling, scouting, spying on the people of the South that the people of Polaris have become increasingly aware of. Part of why Acamar may have been chosen for this is that Acamar is, unlike most of the knights who are thin and kind of smaller stature by comparison, he is larger, has more brawn. In some ways, in terms of his physical stature, seems perhaps more in keeping with some of the people of the Southern Lands. He is in love with a Southern woman named Xania, who happens to also be loved by the Prince of the South. And last session, Acamar and Xania had a rendezvous. In the course of the rendezvous, they exchanged clothing. The Acamar had brought an outfit that Xania could put on, which would kind of give her the appearance of being a knight of the Order of the Stars. And Acamar, in turn, he was expecting to receive some type of outfit that the kind of scouts of the Southern Lands would wear, but instead he was kind of given more, I guess you would say, court regalia, and along with that, received an invitation to make an appearance within the court of the Prince of the South. Acamar has agreed to take up that invitation and to make an appearance, but in turn has kind of set Xania up to be cared for by some of his fellow sentinels of the Southern Lands as a kind of hostage to ensure that Acamar would be treated safely. And yeah, and I think perhaps that may not turn out well, but I think Xania also has a certain amount of value because the Prince of the South is in love with her. So that is kind of where things were left with Acamar last time. So with that, we can get into scenes, and if anybody has a scene, feel free to propose it and frame it for us.
Certainly. And so it came to pass that that Acamar attended a fete as the guest of the Prince of the South.
Okay. So we're this will be a scene during the event that Acamar is.
Yes.
Okay. So
and
do you want me to describe? Do you want me to describe the where this would take place, or do you have an idea of what the?
Yes, I do. I mean, this is this is a in the northernmost castle that the Prince of the South has established for himself. Yes, as far north as his armies have come, and it is the place is called Callisto, shall we say, and it has been made into a royal, not exactly a palace, but a smaller version thereof. It has a great hall, which is ringed around with tables on three sides, and with torchlights and rushlights, and tables set with cups of wine, and groaning with platters of meat and such like that, and a great many important looking people in fine clothing there attending the prince. And Acamar is ushered in by a high-ranking servant when he makes his appearance and announced.
Okay, and
Sir Acamar of the Order of the Stars.
When he's announced, I think that this is a large room with many people who have been engaged in conversations, but when that's announced, people clearly stop what they are doing to kind of take note of Acamar. And Acamar is on alert, but is also doing his best to, I guess to some extent imitate, the little glance he's taken of how people are kind of holding themselves and behaving. And he kind of with his head kind of nods to some of the people close to him. And at the other side of the room is the Prince of the South, and Acamar is led to the dais that the Prince of the South is sitting on. It's a large dais with a table, and chairs around it. And there's a chair just a few seats away from the prince that seems to be the one where Acamar is kind of intended for him.
The prince stands and says, my thanks for accepting the invitation to my court, Sir Acamar. And will you do me the honor of taking a place here at the high table? And indicates the spot, a few seats away from him. And allow me to introduce you, and he mentions the names of the two people who are sitting next to him. And then it's again, everybody goes quiet when he speaks. And then the conversation starts up again, and you can hear snippets of people are gossiping about you, trading bits of information, some of which are wild speculation. Do you have anything on you that indicates your other than the fact that you're obviously an outlander by the way you talk, Um, but do you have anything on you that indicates your office as a Sentinel of the Southern Lands? Do you have a badge, or you know, an emblem on your cloak, or anything like that?
Would the Starlight Sword be with you? Is that
Well,
recognizable?
okay, I think the Starlight Sword would be with me to indicate, right, that I'm you know, part of that order.
You're clearly part of an Order of the Stars, but is there anything to indicate that you're something else?
Yes, it's a kind of elaborate earring with a kind of cuff that that I wear. I mean, it's I don't know, it has what seem to be kind of diamonds that are part of this kind of earring accessory that I'm wearing. I think, you know, the Acamar sits down. People aren't really talking to him initially, but then, you know, Acamar, after a few minutes, turns to the prince and says, um, I am obviously curious as to why you have extended me this invitation.
You know, during a suitable lull in conversation, the prince replies, "You have quite a reputation, and I wished to understand you. It may be that our forces may come in conflict with one another, and I desire that conflict to be resolved in a peaceful fashion, if possible. So I desired that could only be, that I could determine that only by taking your measure."
Acamar says, well, certainly the people of Polaris are not interested in conflict, but the only reason for conflict would be that your people have been on the move. It's not like we are seeking to encroach upon the southern lands. You know, it's you know, the people of the South who have been coming to the north.
Indeed. But there have been historically there have been conflicts between our realms that can only be resolved by the unification of a command over the two of them, and I desire to effect that peacefully, if at all possible.
You talk about unification of the command. Who would you have in mind as being the commander?
Myself, of course. He says with absolute confidence.
Acamar, with that piece of information, you know, Acamar kind of pushes his plate away from him and says, I don't know that this kind of dialogue is really going to go anywhere.
Do you disagree that the Kingdom of Polaris has a sea of corruption in its center?
Certainly, there's a sea of corruption
that it has been unable to root out. Tell me if my intelligence is false.
Your intelligence is correct.
Then, at the very least, you must desire my assistance in rooting out this corruption that your forces have been incapable of correcting on their own. Perhaps we can begin there. Would you not have an ally in this? Or do you desire that Polaris slowly dissolves as the mistake destroys it from within?
I would have an ally, provided that ally proved to be trustworthy and faithful.
I think you can ask anyone here whether I have ever gone back on my word, and you will find no gainsayer. And he says this loudly. If there is anyone here in the hall who believes they have gone back on my word, I am sure that they will inform me. Even in small things, I have no need to hide who I am, nor conceal my motives.
I just want to throw in a moon suggestion as a possibility.
Go for it.
I think it'd be interesting if the prince offered Acamar essentially like province guardianship, as in I'll put you in charge. You know, that kind of, you know what I mean, that kind of some leverage here or temptation.
From what I know of you, you would make an admirable captain of, excuse me, Telstar, for example. I have no desire to place my own people in charge of the northern cities. I only desire that whoever is in charge there have bonds of fealty to me, so that there will not be conflict.
Okay.
And should you desire to assist me, I would place you in command.
Okay, I will, and I'm going to go on and get into the conflict phrases now.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
I will tentatively accept your offer, and furthermore, your trust in me, you will put immediately under my command the forces led by a woman named Xania. And furthermore, I have to use a one of my themes, and I think just go with the Prince of the South, my fate that I'm gonna employ.
And furthermore, so are we using blue? Are we using red and blue? That makes sense. Since it's hard to do left and right in some of these. At the name of Xenia, he pauses a moment. And he says, "It shall be so," assuming that she accedes. And furthermore, there are elements in the court here who are incredibly offended by this. Not by Xenia, but by the fact that he would name an outlander in such an important thing. And they will attempt to assassinate you during this party. And they will very nearly succeed.
Okay, so there's now going to be at this event, there's an assassination attempt.
Correct.
Um,
Could be poison, could be a knife in the back.
mhm.
But yeah, some jealous person is going to try to force the prince's hand in what they see as a dangerous thing that is not motivated by the best, their own ambition and the best interests of the southern lands.
Okay, and the assassination attempt is aimed at Acamar.
Acamar.
Okay.
And of course, as a player character, I promise you this is going someplace interesting.
Okay. I'm going to do another and furthermore. I think I'm going to say, you know, that the assassination attempt occurs. Acamar is grievously wounded, but he is swift with his starlight sword, and you know, there's a duo that you know, has, you know, later in the event they you know, they kind of bookend him and pull out their kind of hidden daggers in this kind of attempt. You know, so, and furthermore, right, he's wounded in this, and Acamar manages, though, with the starlight sword to dispatch the two assassins.
Yes. And let's see, is this an end furthermore?
To sort of throw in a quick question, if Brandon went, "It shall not come to pass," there'll be a dice roll, and that will decide whether the murdering the assassins takes place, because it's the last thing in the row of continuity. Right. Yes, cool. Just checking that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to offer this as not as an and furthermore, but just as play. I'll mark it furthermore if you think it's necessary. So this attempt happens, you know, in some side corridor, the passage, where Acamar, went to, relieve himself or something like that, and he was set upon there. He dispatches his assassins and is found by the servants, and he will awaken an indefinite time later, and he is under the care of a healer of the prince of the south.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
That would work for me. So, like, I think what you would do is,
and that is how it happened.
That is how it happened.
Okay.
Okay, and should we bring that to?
Yes. So that's the end of the scene.
Yeah, and so it was.
And so it was, and the only and so it was, and I'll just put a quote on it. And so it was that many people had thought that Acamar had been killed.
Yeah, and I imagine that the gossip mill is
Right.
And rumor mill is
right. Acamar has certainly disappeared, and the rumor mill is that he was killed. That he didn't do it, and are people surprised? Right. He went down into the domain of the Prince of the South, and somebody killed him. Right. I mean, maybe he was called out in a duel, or maybe he was done in by horrible treachery, as is the case. Anyway, so now we go on to a different protagonist.
Yeah.
And since that was you and me, I suggest that we go on to Heka.
Yeah. I have something I think quite simple. And so it was, in her desperation, Heka, the bride, went to the great library of Tall Star, finding Vulpecula at work, abstractly her new squire,
Yes.
and demanding that you should use this. You spent so long with these tomes that you find me something. There has to be something that can get rid of this demon heart. Vulpecula, please. This is you have the entire nation is in the balance. Heka doesn't like to admit that there's anything more personal than that there.
I have found something, but says Vulpecula, but it is not a good something. I have been desperately trying to find a better solution.
Thank you.
There is only one reference to the unliving heart that seems to be what is reanimating Ursa every time he is killed.
That's interesting.
And it is, we should find, it should be found deep within, in a place deep within the mistake. If that is to say, it should be found in the ruins of an old city that is now within the mistake. And it will not be easy to find. But it is also, it also says that that the unliving heart may not be overcome by simple force. That it requires a sacrifice.
What manner of sacrifice do you think it requires?
There
must be some clue.
Well, it says a noble heart. That someone must willingly give their life to the unliving heart to quench its thirst. and only thus can it be destroyed.
That's immediately Heka's sort of pacing back and forth, footsteps echoing through the library before going back to Vulpecula. Like, this heart, what form? What there must be? What book is this? What book is this in? What form does this heart take? Is this metaphor? Is this fact?
I don't know. In some of it, they write as if the unliving heart was a person. But in the other references, if it was an artifact. I don't believe that either of the writers of these tomes actually saw it themselves. They are passing on reported information. But I have found no other records of an artifact that can bring someone back to life in the fashion that Ursa has come. You have slain Ursa too many times out of mind, and he has returned every time.
To make sure I just want to establish the fiction we've got for a second. The conversation we're having is basically based on the belief that if we actually manage to stop Ursa returning, it will free Teal from the contamination. That's basically the... Okay.
Yes, and allow you to kill Ursa.
Cool. No. I mentioned that because my mission is to heal Teal at the moment. That's the kind of the thing I promised to do in a month. So just making sure I'm tying that together.
Okay, well, that's the bigger thing.
Yeah.
I went for the big prize.
Oh no, I definitely think tying all the big prizes together seems to make sense, especially with 2 sessions.
Ursa's power derives from the unliving heart, I believe. My understanding may be imperfect.
You try. Trust me. You found these words in this forest of trees we find ourselves surrounded in, and gesture at all the books around us. You did well here, Squire. You should you should not ride out with me.
But I desire to. Is that not a vital part of being a squire?
A point of a squire is becoming a knight, and I do not think this journey ends well for anyone on it. Your sister, I do not think your sister would forgive me if I merely dragged you out for the slaughter. And to be honest, it sounds like you have a noble heart. Do not tempt me, Vulpecula. And I'm laughing as a kind of like, it's laughing on the side of cracking here. And I'm just, as we're having this conversation, I just want to sort of have a moment. And news comes to the castle. Those bastard Southerners. That prince, he got Acamar killed. And immediately I'm like, there's just that moment of utter fury, and I sort of glance at my squire and say, well, there is a noble with a heart who has no need of it any longer. And perhaps we could, if we can get rid of my troublesome husband, perhaps we can get rid of his troublesome prince, and make him the sacrifice.
Capture the Prince of the South?
Is it any more insane than driving into the middle of the mistake freely? We have a route now. But be revenge for Acamar.
But he will never. But the Prince of the South will never leave the safety of his armies. He would never. And to go down there to try and kidnap him would be suicidal. I mean, if Acamar went down there and died, what guarantee would it be that you would not also share that fate?
There is no
and you cannot. I mean, like, what am I? I'm sorry, I'm your squire. I shouldn't say this thing.
No, I admire. It's like you're scared. You're more scared of the realm of man than the realm of demon. You know, this is a.
You are Heka the bride. You have power over demons. You have shown that again and again. I don't think a demon can kill you.
Just like
one has tried many times and failed. The demon who knows you best has tried many times and failed. What other? How could another demon ever hope to take you unawares, to fight you in any sort of combat? You might be tricked, I imagine, but never overcome. I am, whereas no one could fight an army. And I didn't know you knew Acamar well. I'm sorry for your loss.
It's like this is why your sister wanted you with me. In the truth, I stand. They tried to kill me. In truth, death approaches me like whittling. I feel slivers of me cut away from these demons, and sometimes I feel more dead than alive. Andromeda, my squire. These are the things we are learning here. And Acamar, I do not know what he thought. He clearly thought that we could gain something from there, but he was mistaken. If his prince has slain him, and I kind of
we do not
side with Heka. There's just that kind of level of a depression in this kind of riding out into the midst of the mistake is what I long to do. It feels like the only logical end to the tale of Heka the bride. But my husband went there and did not come back. And
but if you wait for him here, he will simply return,
as he always has, and always with something worse. Last time with Teal captive, who he tainted. What will it be next time?
That's a good question. This is the sort of thing I was saving for a conflict phrase, but I just want to introduce it to the narrative. It's quite interesting. Is none of us have seen a monstrous demon for a while. There's been no monstrous demons in the game. There's been kind of much more like human shaped, and we sort of talked last time of being two sorts: the monstrous demons and the more subtle demons. And the fact that none of us have seen a monstrous demons yet, implies to me maybe they haven't been seen for a while, and that's automatically where are they? And that sort of thing. And Heka expresses this her fear that I'd always be soothed by seeing a monster come lumbering over the horizon. That's what I'm used to. The idea of my husband, who has been found away into this city, past all our gateways. This is a different kind of monster. This is a monster that is more like man. And I think this is why I'm not less afraid of the Southerners now. As in, if we're going to fight these new demons, these demons who step out of shadows and smile at you over dinner tables, I think we need to be able to face the South as well.
I don't know. It's been my readings have been so much in the realm of demons. I can't say I know very much about other areas. And of course, it's following your exploits and those of my sister. And I don't know what it means. I know that my sister wrote into the mistake. Not very long ago. And it's not the first time she's done that.
I did promise to keep you alive. This is what I suggest.
No. That's you can't promise that. I'm your squire. it may be my destiny to fall at your side. I'm not some I'm not some princess that you vowed to guard. I'm not your ward or your charge. I'm your squire.
You're a young woman of great learning, and you may say I've never taken a squire ever since I lost my husband. All my efforts have been with Capella.
Yes. Who I understand has been corrupted. Or something like that. That must... I can't imagine what that's like.
I want to make sure Kieran's is paused right now. Is he frozen on your screen?
Oh, checking. Yes.
That just happened just a few seconds ago. I saw him freezing. Hopefully he will.
Well, I think this scene needs to go somewhere at this point. It's been great, but it needs to.
Yeah, well, what I've been wondering is, whether I should be interjecting something
You should.
To kind of push it.
Absolutely. That's, scenes need to have
Yes.
they need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we've had it's a great bit of free play, but now it has to turn on something. Something has to happen, or something, a decision has to be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering of like having a messenger from the matriarch, kind of who's been desperately seeking Heka, kind of finally finds Heka during this conversation, with the news that through means that haven't been fully understood, that it seems as though someone or something has kind of broken the bars of Till's he was kind of kept in a dungeon, but that it seems as though he's gone missing, and that there's been some type of and she needs this is terrible news, and she.
Hello,
right.
Karen, are we back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, my computer literally froze, and I was monologuing to myself for several minutes.
Okay, well, feel free to pick up wherever you want to.
I think I was just bringing the scene to the close, and I felt like very well. It's better to, this heart doesn't exist. That's the only question. We'll ride together into the mistake and find this, and then see what we can do about a noble heart.
Will you? I might have one counsel if you will accept it.
Please, you've read the books. She tries to smile. Once again,
This has nothing to do with books. I only know one knight who has been into the mistake and come back out. And that's my sister. She may be she may be able to help you find the heart.
I will take counsel with her, but first do your the first step of being a squire here is to prepare the horses, prepare the weapons, prepare the food. And I will prepare the
Yes, ma'am, she says, and she practically flings down some ancient tome with a bang on the table and rushes out to prepare your materials, and that is what happened.
Yeah, and the Heka pulls out a sword, looking at the starlight edge, and says, "I hope you'll be sufficient." And draws it. Puts the sword away and heads off to see if he can find Andromeda. And so it was.
Okay. One quick question. With all of these scenes, I think one thing I've been remiss with is the experience role. I think
yeah.
after a thing, we should ask whether the experience role is triggered if
what are the rules?
Yeah, so get to the, I have it marked here. So so you make the experience roll. If the heart loses a role in a conflict, or if the protagonist acts in some way that is indicative of sympathy for a demon or the demons as a whole, hatred of a person or the people as a whole, apathy, callousness, cynicism, doubt, or despair.
Right. Stress. Yeah, there should be some rolling then.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, she keeps on like almost breaking down in tears when she's laughing. That sounds sufficiently doubtful to me.
Right. Can you point to the roller again?
Yes.
I roll mine. I rolled a 2, which is beneath my zeal, so I'm okay. Or is that?
Yeah, if you roll, let me see. If you roll beneath, the result is an advance. You add 1 to either ice or light, and
you lose 1 off your zeal.
You lose 1 off of your zeal.
Cool. Ice is inner control and light is outward stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'll take it to light 3 then.
You want to use the dice roller. Okay, and should we take a little break? We've been kind of going at it for a little bit, so maybe say 30 past the hour.
Cool.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe we should get Andromeda in a scene.
Absolutely.
Is she still in the mistake?
She can be there. She can be outside of it. I mean, she travels. she travels at the with enormous speed. But it's perfectly likely she returned to her home after her audience with the Morning Star. I mean, this sort of sit down with demons that the Morning Star has imposed on her wasn't immediate. So it could be outside the mistake. It could be there. Any place is good. What do you think, Kieran?
Oh, you're muted.
Mostly what I would like to see is like whatever her first action is about the thing she's been told that she's got to do. The kind of quest is like, what should she dug into? Does she question these people? Like, kind of like, that's the thing I want to see her get up to, I guess.
You mean have this meeting? And
yeah, I would like just visually, I think the edge of the mistakes, because we haven't actually shown the mistake yet. So kind of like a meeting like on some cliff nearby and looking out into this mess. I think that would feel suitably apocalyptic. Okay,
so she's just there, and then someone will come to see her. And is that the way you'd like to start?
Yes. Sorry, I'm just moving to make sure the right screen.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So Andromeda has gone to a desolate spot that she sometimes goes to in order to clear her head. And it's where she's gone in the aftermath of combats and things like that. And so it's a familiar spot. It is on the edge of a cliff looking down into the mistake. So the wasteland, stretches out in front of her, ruins of cities and blighted things that used to be farmland or orchards. The one imagines that with if you had perfect eyes, you might see things scuttling about here and there. It's kind of a windswept cliff. That behind her goes to rolling hills and eventually to to the outskirts of Talstar if you go far enough. But there's and she is there. She is dismounted. The Gwynnephar is cropping little scraps of grass that it's found. She is looking down there and saying, "What would you, little fox, if you were here, what would you tell me to do? And would I listen?"
And you hear this sort of whisper from behind you, like just echoing in, and it's when do you ever listen to anyone? And you recognise the voice. It's that kind of. It's the treacle, not even treacle. It's the caramel voice of Nyx.
Yes. Seldom. True enough. I prefer to listen to my own heart. In my own, it doesn't have words that are covered in oil that seek to push me away from destiny.
I almost feel sorry for you, Andromeda. Is this you sit in here and you look at this, look at all this beauty in front of you, the corruption sweeping out before to areas even your horse could not carry you over, and you see all this truth, and still you hold on to the idea of destiny and light. This is my victories. My victory review is a slow one. The fact we're even talking. Do you remember that when we first met? Would we be talking like this?
No, I tried to kill you, but
you did very well.
We both know you can vanish at a moment's notice.
This is true. Why this heavy heart? Your father, the Morning Star. I hear he's giving you a mission. Surely this would be you at your most faithful.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were the instigator of this whole business.
I'm not sure whether to be hurt or complimented.
Yes, of course I have. Yes, I have a mission, and you know very well what it is. Or I imagine you do. Yes, the Morningstar believes that there can be some agreement with the demons of the mistake, or at least with a faction of them. I didn't know there were factions.
I must admit, perhaps this is the thing I've been trying to prepare you for. The understanding that you've seen me. I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster at least like the ones you've killed have been.
You're not a monster outwardly.
Who is?
There are creatures down there that are monstrous. Although fewer these days, it seems.
Yes, Heka's done very well. And he sort of laughs at that as if that could be taken in many ways. I never really ever thought,
and yet,
I never really ever thought of them as monsters. I thought them as beasts, and I think in some ways you're right. Anything with a monster on the outside is not really a monster.
no, they're true.
Yeah.
If something has sharp claws and long fangs and a predatory eye, and even though it might hide in the darkness and spring out by surprise, it is simply what it is. It doesn't have any ability to pretend to be something else.
Yes, I think I agree with you, Andromeda. And to be honest, that is a matter of some fear. I've come to you over many, many times to speak to you about corruption, and this is what we're talking about: the movement of purity into monsters.
Yes, I know it. I have seen it myself. I have seen things which were good turn into devastation. I have seen people become things. But the Morning Star is here, and he brings light to this benighted part of the world, which is why I don't understand what he is doing. He is supposed to fight the demons, to use his power to drive back the corruption. And
oh, sweet Andromeda, perhaps that is a luxury you do not have anymore. Perhaps my telling you that all these years have been a kindness. Imagine if you'd been told this when you were still entirely pure of heart, this beautiful crystalline statue of a person. Imagine that before Nyx had chipped away at you. You would be worse now if it wasn't then. So you would be worse now if it was not for my careful work over these years. But I have sympathy for you. The steps are, the road ahead of you is lit as only the Morning Star can. And it is.
It is. And what I should do is what I am told to do. And if it is your doing that I doubt this, then you have done me no favors. Not that I expected you to. I expect even now you're calculating how best to turn me to your advantage, as you always have.
He sort of pauses and he says, I say one light is well lit. Perhaps I wish to merely illuminate another light. Another route. Another route that is perhaps not visible beneath the Morning Star's glare. You have the route ahead. You attempt to embrace a little bit of monster. You find it somewhere inside you, and find a tripartite alliance of demon, man, and others. Alternatively, you reject this route. You reveal it. You slay the Morning Star and take the place and ascend to a higher power, and you become the holy light that burns it all. Of course, this option would have never occurred to you, but it is there. Or you walk away. You turn your back on all of this, and you let what happens, and leave creatures like Nyx to manipulate the strings.
I can't do that.
See? All you have to do is choose. Things are easy then. And I think at this point, I think at that point, Nyx probably disappears, you know what I mean? Like, Nyx is very much, I like to have the last word kind of demon.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah. And like, just, and then you realise, it's even like the Batman moment when you realise you're speaking to yourself and Nyx is no longer there.
Yeah.
That frustration.
Kill. Andromeda Andromeda's first feeling is to reject the option that Nyx has unfolded before her, the unspeakable option. That because it comes from Nyx. But then she realizes there's a double bind. That Nyx knows her too well. And would give this option only to trouble her. Never thinking that she might actually take it. And I think that she comes to the realization that that's the only course that makes sense. She takes her sword out. Runs her hand along the blade. Of all the choices I have, one is easy and one is hard. And my heart says that the easy path is never the right one. I will serve the morning star, but not by meeting with demons and allowing them power. And that's what happens.
Does this require a experience roll?
Yes, definitely, I think. For you.
Sure. Yeah, Andromeda has basically made a vow to kill the morning star.
Yes.
She got a 6. She is, her zeal remains strong. Yeah, you could do the easy thing, or you could do the phenomenally difficult thing. You know, the only way she's ever been able to deal with Nyx is to look inside, because she can't. Because sometimes he speaks the truth and sometimes he lies, and she can't tell the difference. She's afraid, actually, that he speaks the truth all the time. And so she has to shut her ears really hard.
It's interesting. And of course, we're in a game where corruption is pretty much inevitable. So Nyx is a fascinating element of truth teller there, I think.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, that's why I picked him. It's like, yeah, Nyx is on the right side. Nyx is right and Andromeda is wrong. And she's, but so yeah. So who's next?
Yeah, I was thinking about a scene with Acamar. I'm just trying to it could be when Acamar is has been kind of restored, is coming back to his senses, or I could move it even further in advance.
So a scene that I thought would be very appropriate is what happens to Zania? In other words, Zania was held as a hostage against Acamar's safety.
Mm-hmm.
And Acamar's friends believe that he has been killed. Are they not bound by honor to kill her? And
Yeah, so
if you want, if you don't mind it a super harsh turn, the scene could well be about Acamar, mostly healed, rushing back to find out what's happened to Zania and finding out something awful.
or to see, because Acamar accepted the Prince of the South, at least tentatively has accepted this commission of sorts. But it was, with the agreement that he would be put in, have at his command this small squad of southern people that Zania was
Yes, absolutely.
with. So
But
I think
Zania is a hostage of loyalists
Right.
to Polaris against Acamar's safety, and if they believe Acamar is dead, then Zania's life is forfeit.
Right. So why don't I frame this scene?
Mm-hmm.
Acamar has been restored, and is obviously concerned about Zania, and I mean, he also would have, he uses, the fact that he's kind of made this
Yes.
agreement as kind of like justification to go out to find out what has become of her. And so we see Acamar. He's not wearing the court regalia anymore. Um, he's back in his knight armor, and he's leading a handful of Southern scouts who are part of Zania's little contingent. Right? They know Zania, and they know this territory too. Right? I mean, they've been scouts. They've been around here, and they are kind of adept at kind of reading the terrain.
We'll call them free riders.
Yes. And yeah, so they have managed to track down where the knights who were holding Zania went.
A conversation on the way. One of the free riders says, "Captain."
Yes.
the lieutenant of the Free Riders, says, "Captain, my prince is of course doing all that he can to root out those who made an attempt upon your life. And and to protect you in your convalescence, he made no attempt to quell the rumors that you were dead. Or he feared that there would have been a second attempt, guarded as you were. Anyone can be bribed with enough money. He desired that you know that it is likely that people here think that you were killed. I am here to, of course, to attest to the veracity of your account, if that is helpful.
Did your prince propagate this rumor that I was dead, both among the people of the South and among the people of Polaris?
Just among the people of the South. But there is some commerce between the South and Polaris. And your name is known. Doubtless it came north as well. The rumors go faster than a man on horseback. They have wings.
Well, I mean, being thought to be, I understand why your prince would do such a thing, and well, you know, I don't have much commerce with your people, so whether they believe me alive or dead is
understood. But it is likely that you came to the Southern Lands and you disappeared for a prolonged period of time. It is likely that that you will have been thought to have been dead. I only say this in case some political machination may have taken place in your absence.
You know, they've been riding while this conversation is going on, and Acamar at this point stops though and says, "Well, since people maybe believe that I am dead, it perhaps is not wise for me to continue to kind of travel around in my armor that you know would be so obvious." So he calls on the small group riding with him to supply him with kind of the garb that they are wearing, like they takes kind of spares that they have, and so that now, you know, he is kind of riding, you know, looking as best as he can to fit in with them. They do pick up the trail of those knights that were holding Xania, and the trail.
You knew where they you know where they where they reside. It's not, they weren't fleeing with her.
Right.
So they, you know, she was being kept at a small, in a small fortress. You know, somewhere on the probably in one of the south watches, one of the southern fortresses, maybe South Keep.
Yes. But they pick up, yeah, they're in that region. They do pick up a trail that kind of moves from there even further northward.
Polaris.
I don't know where this will go. I'm going to say that they though you know, they are one of the riders in the front, though, while they are kind of following the trail. The one in the front who's been kind of taking the lead for a period suddenly stops his horse and calls for everybody else to stop. And they're in a kind of hilly terrain, and he points ahead, and there are signs ahead of well, I mean, clearly what's been a small battle, the aftermath, and there are clearly some knights of Polaris who are dead and on the ground. Acamar kind of cautiously but quickly kind of makes his way up to the place of battle. Sees some of the knights that he knows, right? They are not just knights, but these are sentinels of the southern lands who have been killed.
I recognize
and no sign of Xania, though. Xania is not among them.
You knew these people?
Yes, I mean, Acamar is confused and grieving, right, over the fallen comrades.
Whither do we ride then, O Acamar? Says the lieutenant. And what has happened here?
I mean, it's clearly been a violent confrontation, right? That
Are there bodies? Are there any other bodies besides? And you know, Robbie, feel free.
Yes, I think that there are also a couple soldiers from the south who are also here, and the people riding with Acamar recognize them. Okay, so we both recognize fallen comrades, and
why would they fight?
Well, I'm not sure, but
our patrols recognize one another all the time, but we generally refrain from engaging. Battle has not been called for on this front. We perhaps this was simply a skirmish that turned bad.
Perhaps, except certainly the fact that my men were holding Xania might have something to do with this. I think we need to kind of continue onward I'm not sure why they were taking this path to Polaris, but seems like the answer would be there.
Kieran.
Yeah, so I'm just
So since you are playing Xania,
yeah.
what is it sounds like the that some Southerners have attempted to grab Xenia.
My suggestion, and trust, we've got two suggestions. I was sort of waiting for the conflict move to kick in at some point there, which it didn't. So, but like my two suggestions would be, and if obviously feel free to, but it was no matter either. One is Xenia's not an idiot. She had her own people vaguely watching where she was, and the first word that came of any trouble, they would try to break her out.
Right,
so
to avoid her being killed.
Yeah, and the other one
as a hostage.
Yeah, and the other one to throw in is it's one of the warring political parties, knowing that the fact there's clearly some politics in the South is going on there. They want her as a hostage as well, and so it's that one of the rival powers behind the throne for the Prince of the South. They're the two options I would throw towards you, I think.
Yeah, well, and of course there's the tragic option.
There is of course that one as well.
Which is people tried to rescue Xania, or Xania tried to break out, and it failed. And that failure can only have a catastrophic result.
So I think,
Acamar, do you want a catastrophe now, or do you want a catastrophe later?
Well, what I would suggest is that as the mistaken, maybe Brandon, you would go with one of those, and then if I want to push on it, we can go into a conflict. Right.
I think I like the first one. So the news of Acamar's death comes, and Xania manages to get word out to friends who attempt to rescue her, and there is a battle there, and it goes badly. Your companion knights are in a good defensive position, and and trained for this sort of thing, and Xania's friends mount a desperate attack which does not succeed.
Okay. Are you specifying what Xania's
fate is?
Fate is.
Xania's fate is that Xania's killed in this. Okay. I mean, it may be that her attackers managed to get to her, but one of the noble knights kills Xania in order, to fulfill his duty, despite the fact that the fortress was breached and they lost.
Mm-hmm.
So he upholds his oath.
To throw in the additional thing, she dies, all the guards die, so the attack succeeded to the point of all the allied people were killed, therefore possibly a thing that starts a war anyway, and she dies anyway. So it's literally the worst of all cases. Yes.
So that's what I propose, is complete disaster.
Okay, so and I think that's good to kind of push on that, to kind of force me then. I
would say, Acamar, you and the riders, get to the fortress, And you find there that the garrison's been slaughtered.
Mhm.
And among the bodies is, you know, is a cloaked figure, and you pull the cloak back, and it's Zania.
Okay.
Who you know, lying, you know, next to the arrow, you know, arrow riddled corpse of you know, of one of the knights, you know,
Yeah.
sent to guard her.
Okay. So I think with that last statement is where I would I will say with that last statement, it shall not come to pass, which is the conflict phrase, and this then requires a roll of the die. And
what are you rolling against?
so I roll a die, and disadvantage goes to the one who invoked it, and that's me. And that's not really going to have a big effect because if the heart is disadvantaged, you subtract weariness, but I don't have any weariness at this point.
Right.
And you look at the challenge value. So we have to decide, is this a ice? It's not really going to make a big difference because I think they're both the same, but you decide whether it's an ice or a light conflict.
For Acamar, I think it's light.
Yeah. And okay, and then I just roll the die, and it has to be lower than or equal to the challenge
Okay.
value.
So
So
let's see
I have to roll
see
a
if
1.
Zania is still alive.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the bit you're resisting then, as in, sorry, I'm using Blaze in the Dark terms, but so it's the only the end of Zania's alive, the rest is
Right. It's that last statement that I'm challenging. And so I think I have to roll a
Rolling a 1.
yeah. Let me
Okay. Roll.
put my here we go. And I rolled a 5. Okay. So Zania is dead. This also then, because I failed the roll, this also means an experience roll that I make.
And
so whenever
we erase all the marks.
right. So on my experience roll, I got a 2.
So that means your zeal goes down,
Right.
and something else goes up.
Right. And I think it would be the light that would go up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you lose the marks because you failed the challenge or failed the experience, or it's failed the experience.
No, I think the marks stay on there.
Oh, the marks stay? Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
The marks stay. They go away when you if the experience roll goes the other way is when
okay.
the marks go away.
You liked her a lot, but not enough to spend any of your powers to save her.
And I think to bring this scene to an end, you know, Acamar is you know, Acamar, you know, with grief, digs a grave for Zania, and then he
all of the free riders, they they contribute weapons. They contribute weapons to be buried with hers, where they can find them, and others, so that she'll have them with her wherever she goes. Because she was one of theirs too. But they acknowledge Acamar's grief and allow him to be the chief mourner.
Yeah. And so it was. So we'll just end with like the kind of quick the funeral as it's finishing up.
Is it a? So it's a burial. It's in the earth. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel a smoky fire is called for. So maybe someone just builds one.
I'm interested how the Prince of the South responds to this as well. You know, that's the interesting question.
Yeah. Well. I think it's pretty straightforward. And we'll introduce that shortly. So who's our next protagonist? I think it's Heka.
Yeah, it should be. I kind of obviously I need to go and find. Obviously, I want to go and find Andromeda and get this thing because I promised Vulpecula to do it. But I just think something should probably happen with Ursa the Groom because he's done the speaking demonically thing, and there's some sort of response to the daughter. So I got the image of like going and checking Till before I'm about to ride out, as in one last check. Alternatively, checking on Capella and she's done something.
What hasn't she done?
That's what I say. I think the opening the scene is just I want to have a relatively quiet scene of like Vulpecula's getting the equipment together. So I'm checking in with Capella. I'm basically trying to make a promise to stay here until Andromeda's gone. You're a squire, and that's the scene. So I'm trying to falling back into my motherly duties.
Capella was essentially with Ursa last we saw, right?
So could you repeat that?
Capella was with Ursa last we saw, wasn't she?
I thought we agreed that that was part of the deal we made, that Ursa, that she wouldn't go until she'd had her squire training.
Ah, okay, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So she
in which case Capella's with Andromeda, right? Because Andromeda's not going to shirk that.
Yes. We just the fact she hadn't been established made me think you hadn't picked her up yet. But like she could completely be with you instead, which is great.
Yeah, Andromeda has having Andromeda having returned and having had this request from Heka, has come back to take Capella away. At least if nothing else, just to segregate her away from Ursa.
Yeah. Okay, that's the scene we'll establish as in Heka's home, which is I mean, there's homes which basically after tragedy they become like fixed and then like become living museums. Heka's home isn't like that. Heka's home is really Spartan and austere, and everything's been stripped out. There's like bare stone walls. Where there was once tapestries, there's just stone now. It's perfectly clean. It's it's very very well. It's very determined. I guess it's made its choice. But at the same time, it's not exactly a home now. It's more like an outward version of her internal emotional fortress. And the scene I want to get is like, and I'm leaning into the mechanic a little bit here, as in my daughter, like, Andromeda will be here soon. I need to speak to her, but I've arranged something for you. I've spoken to the armory, and this is the finest suit of armor I could find for you. Like this is This is specifically designed to protect you from being stabbed in the back by any of these creatures. They'll come to you from the front. Or if they come to you, they'll have to come to you face on.
Very well. says Capella. I said I would do this, and I will.
It is for the best. You will. Andromeda is brilliant and wise, and she knows much more than I ever could. She'll teach you everything you need to do. I mean, I know you won't believe me anything about him, but you will. She has a different perspective. She has a way of making people see. She will teach you so much, and when you face your father, you will not be unprepared. And Heka speaking, I imagine like Heka sees the unease because she's still getting these visions from him. But I don't know. Yeah. But Heka doesn't know about that. So she's just reading the unease as just the general, her daughter doesn't like her. Her daughter thinks that she's a failure as a mother and all that.
I don't think I'm unprepared now. But you promised. I will train with Andromeda, and it will be good to learn the ways of the sword. But I don't think it'll make a difference. All right?
What do you say that?
Because I've seen the future.
And Heka just goes very slow. This is something different now. What do you mean? What do you mean, my daughter? Please, Capellas, tell me.
I have dreams. I never had them before, but now they're very clear.
What do you see?
I see. I see myself with Father by his side.
This hits Heka hard because that's exactly how she saw her. You know, she remembers her. I mean, she knows her daughter talking prophecy, but that's exactly what Heka saw, standing beside Ursa, facing the dark together. And then her daughter decides to stand by him in the dark, and this is almost more than she could possibly bear. And she finds word, tries to think something Andromeda would say, and it's dreams are nothing. Dreams are the lies the demons tell us, and their father is a demon now, and they are smoke starlight burns through, and we can always look up and see the stars, and they will orientate us. These dreams, I do not know what you've seen in them, but it's, you know, the difference between standing with someone and standing against someone is merely a matter of perspective and a matter of moments. I have faith in you, daughter. Your father, when he still lived, raised you right, and I believe you'll act in. And I believe when the moment comes, you will act according to that, not the thing he has become now, not the thing that tortures your dreams, whatever they are.
Your words hit home, and she looks confused as a result, where before she seemed very set and sullen. I don't know.
My daughter.
Look, I'll try, all right?
Trying is all we can ask.
Looking squarely down at a corner of the room.
And she teaches, so I'm trying to, nice. And on the way towards Andromeda, she says, please, and she's starting to teach you some things about, I should have taught you this a long time ago. and just give some very basics on striking demons. This is kind of like just very specifically, their hearts are slightly different to ours. The way the body moves, how you can sort of, they give little tells that you can almost smell where to strike rather than, you know, she uses the line, use your nose rather than use your eyes. You know, that's the nose will tell you things the eyes cannot. It just tries to basically give in the same way, protection from stab. The fact that she's given him this armor to protect him from a strike from the rear. Now she's trying to set it so if she has one strike, she thinks her daughter will strike true.
You can tell she doesn't want to hear these things from you.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out how, because I'm trying to use a tag on this. So I would say something like, but I can't use a tag until you push back, can you? So I would say something like, she listens to me, you know, despite her doubt, she listens to me.
That would be good. And I think I have to be the one.
Yes, you
as the mistake.
Yeah. Sorry, Robbie. Yeah.
You're a mistake. So yeah, just waiting for you to chime in.
Okay. So yeah. So if you say she has her doubts, but she still listens to me, I think that then I might jump in and say let's see, I'm looking at your sheet.
Does she simply resist? Or is there a but only if?
Yeah, we could do that. Just say,
it shall not come to pass.
It shall not come to pass. Yes.
That would work.
And so you're going to roll.
Light.
Yeah, you roll against light, and you add zeal to the value because the mistake in here is at disadvantage, so you get to add the zeal to this.
Cool. And what is the specifically thing that we're resisting? Like resisting her listening to my telling her how to kill a demon? Yeah.
Correct. Right. That she is. If you fail, that she's not.
It's an interesting quirk of the system that, like, if you just go to I shall not come to pass, it always goes to a roll and you don't get to use any of the traits. That's interesting. In which case I will roll 1d4.
1d6.
Oh, 1d6, sorry.
And you got 4. And so that's good enough.
That's good enough. So I succeed. Does anything happen or just succeed?
No, you just succeed in the right. That you get your way with that statement, right?
Excellent. I do find it with free session,
which is more about forging a little bit of a bond.
Yeah. Speak intent. What I'm trying to do is basically set up to her to have some sort of almost trap chart, as in like I clearly want her to be attacked in the rear now, and I clearly want to have one moment where she might kill a demon, and whoever that demon might be by that point in the story. That's the kind of the sort of setup I would like there. And she listens, and it's almost like I almost can't remember the last time she ever listened to me. And as I escort her out to Andromeda, I just hope that she has better luck. Andromeda has better luck. Andromeda's good with people. I have every faith in Andromeda.
And if I could, just as a quick little coda to that scene, we maybe get a quick moment where we see Till still in his room, and you hear this voice of Ursa saying, "It will be soon. It will be soon. Soon you will be free." And you pick up what seems to be a slight smile appearing on Till's face, and he's nodding as he listens to that voice, which is the voice of Ursa. Yeah.
But only if we still have Capella hearing little flickers of it as well.
And I think that's then that was how it happened.
Cool. And so it was.
And I kind of want to, do we want to go to Andromeda?
Sure. I think Andromeda is overdue for interaction with Heka.
Sounds great.
Okay, and if this is the case, because Heka then becomes kind of a moon character.
Yes.
So for this one, should I because should I take the role of the mistaken here, since Kieran is
Yes.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Andromeda finds Heka in her room, in her home. Heka hears the unmistakable sound of the Gwynethar whinnying, which is like a horse whinnying, but it's not.
I sort of she smiles at the noise, and as sort of says and says to Andromeda, "It's I never until now I never thought about the problem that having a squire who doesn't have a magical flying horse will face you. I'm sure you'll overcome it, Andromeda. You always do."
Well, she cannot accompany me on my circuit, but she's a beginner. There are a lot of things I can put her to that don't. She's not really good enough to do so, and we can go a riding to the near near lands of the mistake if necessary. Skirt the edges and give her some experience there.
That's what I hope for. I mean, I've tried to prepare as best I can if she somehow does meet her father, but it's just in your hands now, and I trust you implicitly in all things.
Andromeda is all turned out. She is in her full sort of dress combat uniform, as it were. She has her full regalia of the Daughter of the Morning out, which she does not customarily wear. It's perfectly suitable for combat. But the helmet has a fancy crest, and there's the pauldrons with engraved markings on them.
Yeah.
And the armor is decorated.
Heka, of course, can't help but notice and asks, "Is there a battle I've not been told about?"
there's one coming. In truth, there's more than one coming. I've heard that there was a deadly skirmish at Fortress near South Keep. I don't know. The rumor has it that the Southerners are preparing for war. I don't know why, but our scouts have seen armies mobilizing to march.
I've heard as much as well.
And I have I fear that I have a battle of my own.
Me too.
Capella will not be endangered by this, I promise you.
Is there anything I can do? I mean, I have my own. I have a quest of it a month to save my father-in-law.
Yes, there is. I cannot ask you to do this.
You can ask
I
me to do
cannot ask
anything.
you as a friend to do this. I can only, but I can lay it before you. Understand, however, that you have no obligation. Does that make sense?
I'm not. You know, I've never seen like Andromeda ask me something like this before, so I'm quite. There's that immediate rush of sincerity. Yes, of course, Andromeda, you've done so much for me.
I have had to make a very difficult decision, and I have decided that the Morning Star has made a mistake and has somehow become corrupt. And I have a duty. The Morning Star wanted me to make a pact with demons to settle to fix the mistake, to ally with them or some part of them. And I have concluded that I cannot do this.
And
The only honorable, I'm sorry.
No, I was about to say, I've got the image of actually Heka actually taking your hands at this point because she sees immediately how big it is, and that kind of it's quite an instinctive gesture.
Yes.
And she just urges you on.
I am girding myself to go and confront him. And if necessary, to try to kill him. To prevent this from coming to pass.
I was thinking of pushing something here.
Push away.
All right, so you're kind of preparing for this action against the Morning Star, and let's say, and furthermore, because of the word of the growing winds of war blowing from the south, messengers have been sent to some of the knights that they need to immediately band together to kind of bolster the Sentinels of the South. So that like it's like the Sentinels of the South, Acamar, they fear that he is dead. Some other of the Sentinels have died, and a messenger has tracked down Andromeda to say that she needs to immediately drop, previous plans and make her way along with her squire to the south. That situation there has become very precarious and dangerous. And that'll be and furthermore statement drawing upon the Knight of the Order of the Stars. So that particular office coming into play.
Sure. I'm going to Andromeda's gut says that as important as this is, it's secondary. And so I think what makes most sense is you ask far too much. And she's going to mark the Daughter of the Morning Star.
Okay. So I now give you another option, and then you can choose. So I think that's the way it works, correct? Right? That I have to revise and revise what I've given you to give you a different option. So
well, I mean, if it's simply that you're giving her the option, then she would just reject that option and take the consequences.
Yeah, but I think what I need to do is to come up with some other something that's different, and then you have to choose whether you're going to get the message about needing to kind of join in, or
well,
you take...
no. If it's just the message, then I'm going to let it happen.
Okay.
So the messenger comes, and Andromeda acknowledges it and says, "Indeed, the Sentinels have taken a terrible blow, but I have duty that only I can perform. And Heka, I would ask, I cannot ask. I would put it, I would say that I am unlikely to succeed on my own. There.
Heka's like, if you took this to Libra, she would have the Knights march there and join you. There'll be but I understand why you have not. to make sure I understand. Make sure that the Morning Star is a slightly disreputable, not disreputable, but like outside society cult. That's the kind of position. So like,
yes, but all the knights are would not give me so much aid and comfort as if without you.
if she was,
is that
even if you were not my dearest friend,
all of them, and if you were not among them, then Andromeda turns her face away for a moment. In a very deliberate gesture, she turns to look away from Heka, as if she can't bear to look at her. And she holds that posture. So there she is. She's holding both hands with Heka, but she has turned her chin strongly to one side.
And Heka, clearly an expert in kind of this the level of like complicated, embedded, buried emotion, reads it as shame, and reads it as this is about this religion, this very powerful faith she has, the embarrassment of like she's gone here, the embarrassment of having come to her. And she speaks, Andromeda, even if you are not my dearest friend, I would ride to do this. Anybody who has to face the difficulties you do needs someone beside you. And I would do one last thing that is good before I have to ride into the mistake. For I need to tell I need your mind. There's a heart there. I hear that, and I need to know where that is. But first, this. For she sort of thinks about, in the scale of tragedies, this tragedy of my family and the tragedy of Libra and Teal will be small compared to an alliance of demon and man and whatever is wrought from it. And there's a moment of like, in some ways for Heka, this actually simplifies things. As in, oh right, this I understand. There's a cult leader who's doing evil things. And it's not my cult leader. That's good. I feel free. I can do this. And she feels clean and pure, like the sword at her wrist. Not wrist, waist. It'll be okay. And she takes and she touches Andromeda's face gently and turns it back towards her. It will be.
She feels wetness on Andromeda's cheek, and she sees that Andromeda has tears running down both cheeks.
I'm so sorry. No. It will not be well, but it will be what it is.
No, you mistake me, says Andromeda. I am not crying from shame or fear. But from the joy that you will be coming with me.
And Heka is tearing up too. In that moment of like the idea of anybody, all they've had is trains of duty for so long, and the idea that somebody would need her in such a profound way is like angelic. She feels like she's standing in a beam of light.
And Andromeda embraces her.
Heka returns the embrace. Of course, the strangeness of these, one woman fully armored, the other woman in chainmail, is strange, but this is the way for these people. And they hold. It's a lot. Heka cannot remember the last time she held anybody.
Or Andromeda. Except her sister, little sister. And that was very different. And so the embrace lasts a while. And Andromeda heaves an enormous sigh and wipes her tears. Knights don't cry, she says, with a little smile.
Knights do not cry, we weep, says Heka.
And Andromeda bursts out laughing, and more tears course down her cheeks. She's laugh cries. We will prevail, or else we will not. But if we fall, we will fall in righteousness.
Heka just nods at that.
And Andromeda looks at Heka in the most open and grateful, heartfelt fashion. And Heka feels that Andromeda is about to say something, but she doesn't.
And I think Heka says it and is just always turning away and getting the weapons and getting ready.
Yes.
When this is over, there will be time for words.
Yes. Yes. Meet me then. At Desperation Point on the morrow. Maybe we will proceed from there.
Very well. And be careful.
No, nothing can touch me until I confront him. Nothing but dare. She says with absolute conviction. I am the daughter of the morning. And that's what happened.
And so it was.
So it was.
I want to ask, first of all, do you think experience needs to be rolled by Andromeda for this?
Andromeda is incredibly happy. About what happened.
Okay.
So I guess not.
I'm wondering if,
or unless you think this is a turning away from the people, or the fact that she's
I think it's very complicated. I think.
I don't, yes, I mean, she certainly doesn't, doesn't feel, hasn't lost faith in anything. But she is, Booger's about to do something terrible.
Right. Well, and she did turn down the message from.
That's true. She did. So I guess
night.
so. Guess I'm rolling. Yep. She turned away from the people and towards her own destiny. So
yeah. That message was just for Andromeda, though, yes? As in abstractly, what the heck?
Correct. Yeah, that was calling.
That was Andromeda. And I missed the roll. So I'm going to mark up my numbers here.
And I'm also wondering, should we move the Morning Star and put the Morning Star with the Mistaken?
I think so at this point.
That sounds quite fun.
And so this will get, I'll go in and move that over. And you can have more than one, so Nyx stays there as well. But then we need to add a full moon. I have an idea that we could add to the full moon. I mean, I'm kind of just imagining that when knights of the Order of the Stars, when they are insubordinate, that there's a commander with a squad of the night that kind of that kind of deal with rebellions, insubordinations, and things of that sort. And whether we could put something like that as the full moon, right? That could be in play.
I'm not sure if this is right, but we haven't used Scuttum yet, have we? Over on
not really.
Sheet. Like Captain the Matriarch's Guards, and that could be, he's somebody who definitely sounds heavy.
Should we have him being the one who? Because I think he.
Yeah,
a full moon can appear in more than one.
The Matriarch's Guard is are the enforcers here.
Yeah.
So let's bring it. So
he is called Scuttum, which is a good kind of name for this kind of role.
It means shield, but it sounds nasty.
That sounds good. And I'm going to have to, and I can do this for next time. I need to think of a new, since my new moon character is no more. I will have a different new moon character that I will.
Yes. Although you could have her memory.
Yes, her ghost. Or yes,
or just flashbacks to to time you spent with her. Dead characters don't have to. I mean, look at all the TV shows where dead characters, continue to play a part, right? Even though they're, I mean, where they're, you still see them in scenes, even though they're dead.
Yeah, I must admit, I want to know more. It's funny because the fact she's the one that ties you with the prince, it's almost the one that you do want to know more about her because she's romancing you, she was romancing him. There's the kind of implication. There's probably a lot more in that box, even just the implications of her.
Yeah. I'll give.
By the way, my conclusion of the Prince of the South is the Prince of the South is enraged at Zarya's death, and that's why he's warring. It's completely personal.
Yeah, it now has become very personal for him.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Up until this time, it was political, but he's been tipped over by Zarya's being killed.
Yeah. Well, we did have that consequence from the second session that you'd be viewed as a barbarian, like a kind of respectable barbarian, but still kind of a troll. This is very much leading into everyone goes, well, this is exactly what we expected of them,
Right. Yeah. But even as one might say, okay, this is simply a tragic, a tragic mistake that was made, but right, it's not accepted that way. um, you know, then it's you know, it's just right. It's just a disaster.
Honestly, I mean, the most cynical reading would be it's absolutely the prince's plan for Casus Belli. You know, as in, no, I absolutely threw my love into it, and this justifies me invading now. You know, that's the most cynical of all possible readings.
Good God, that's good God, yeah, that's possible. What a bastard! If that's true, I prefer to think of him for the moment as you know,
yeah,
the fellow who was you know, he was willing to see his lover in the hand in somebody else's arms, but not. But when she was killed, that was too much.
yeah.
Yeah, and he's still like a very mysterious fellow, right? You know,
Well, he has to be. He's dealing
hardly
with the
been seen.
politics of the South, which we've
Yes.
established as Byzantine.
Yes.
Yes, he's very. We don't know. He's a very guarded person. So
Yeah, I feel like in some ways we you know the Knights of Polaris have a much better handle on the mistaken and the demons than they do perhaps on the Southern peoples.
we have a lot more. We have a lot more experience with them.
Right.
You know, the people of the South are you know, it's like they're people, but they're not like us. What do we do with that?
I do have the image of those, like the people of the South, just the people of the North. They just have these melodramatic relationships. Everything's very intense. They have to ride off the mistake. They're constantly trying to kill each other. Whilst we just like, you know, nice parties. Everything's fine.
Yeah, more down to earth
yeah,
kind of concerns.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're totally, you know, Northmen. You know, right? Everything is a big deal. Passions run, you know, passions run hot in cold climate.
We don't cry, we weep. As the, you know, that was literally the truest thing that ever said. You know.
Yes.
I do at the top of the hour. I'll need to be heading off here. I enjoyed the session very much. I think
This is great.
yeah, the kind of good drama and melodrama and kind of intrigue kind of going on with the game. I should, lest we forget, I should say, but that all happened long ago, and now there are none who remember it, which
Yes.
is always the phrase you say at the close of the session. Is there anything else that you, in terms of thinking about next week, anything else that you would want us to be thinking about, or?
You mean besides war, deadly confrontation with the Morning Star? It's going to be deadly for somebody.
Yes.
The who's ever left questing after the heart, the unliving heart, and trying to
and who's going to be the sacrifice if
right, the inevitable sacrifice that has to accompany that, assuming that they make it, which is a big assume, and a war. You know, I think I think there's enough to go on there.
Yeah. There's a lot, especially because it's the last session. It is very much going to be a lot of other stuff. I'm really interested how the fact that everyone's fate is the Prince of the South, like it's all going to sort of like permeate together, and it's like I'm quite interested, especially now the explicit refusal by Andromeda to get involved. That's suddenly like, by absence it becomes a presence. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I knew when creating Andromeda, it's like Office, Knight of the Order of the Stars, Daughter of the Morning. It's like at some point, one of those doesn't work.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that in.
Yeah.
And
it may be now that neither one of them works, right?
Well, no.
Right.
I mean, at some point she would had to refuse one of those.
Yeah.
Because inevitably they were going to come into conflict.
Yeah.
And And so yeah, so thank you for forcing that issue.
As a really minor, I have to say, during the final scene with Heka and Andromeda, I loved how the beam of light was hitting Brandon when you were speaking.
Yeah.
It was adding a real level of complete medieval poetry.
Yes, it's just it's slanting in my window over the top of the house next door. I didn't realize that. I wasn't looking at my own reflection. Oh, look at that. So
you're actually leaning into it, so it's completely
radiating.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. It was heartfelt and allowed allowed Andromeda to not say what she felt about Heka. In a very profound way, without yeah.
And are you all taking Capella and Vulpecula along for the ride?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we probably have. Especially, I think we probably have to.
Yeah.
If not, I suspect they'll turn up.
I think from dramatic purposes, they have to come along.
Yeah.
It's like whoever's playing the Mistaken will completely have them turn up anyway. Then that's the kind of thing I would. We could tell them to stay at home, but I think they're going to turn up.
They're going to go. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna bring it to an end here. I got my family always chomping at the bit for me to do various things in the afternoon, so I'm gonna head off to them. But I enjoy playing with you all again, and looking forward to the final session next week.